You're lying in bed at 3 a.m. staring at the ceiling. The world is quiet, but your mind is screaming. There's a voice inside you, faint, persistent, relentless. It whispers, you could be more, you could do more, you could change everything. But the moment you hear it, something else kicks in, a heavier, darker voice. Who do you think you are? You're not enough. You'll fail. Stay safe. Stay small. And so, you do. You pull the covers over your head, scroll through your phone, distract yourself with noise, anything to drown out that call to greatness. But deep down, you know it's still there, waiting. That spark, that untapped potential, the version of you that could set the world on fire. If only you weren't so afraid. Have you ever felt that? That tug of war inside your soul? The longing to break free, to create, to soar, followed by the crushing weight of doubt, fear, and self-sabotage? You're not alone. Most of us live in that tension every single day. We dream big, but we act small. We crave meaning, but we settle for comfort. We want to become legends, but we're terrified of even trying. Why? Why do we fear our own potential? Why do we run from the very thing that could make us whole? The answer lies in a truth so raw, so uncomfortable, that most of us spend our lives avoiding it. To become who you truly are is to confront the chaos within you. And that chaos? It's terrifying. But it's also where your power lives. This video is not just about ambition or success. It's about the invisible chains that hold you back from becoming the person you were born to be. It's about why we sabotage ourselves, why we fear our own greatness, and why the world seems designed to keep us small. We'll dive into the raw, unfiltered philosophies of two intellectual giants, Friedrich Nietzsche and Gustav Jung, who didn't just understand this fear. They lived it, wrestled with it, and turned it into wisdom that can set you free. So, buckle up. This is not a motivational pep talk. This is a journey into the heart of your own resistance. A mirror for those who feel the pull of something greater, but don't know how to answer it. By the end, you'll see that your fear of potential isn't a flaw. It's a signal, a sign that you're standing on the edge of something extraordinary. Let's begin. Picture this. You're a kid again, maybe 10 years old, sitting in a classroom. The teacher's droning on about fractions, but your mind is somewhere else. You're doodling in the margins of your notebook, a spaceship, a dragon, a city you've built in your head. You're not just a kid, you're a dreamer. You imagine yourself as an astronaut, a writer, a hero. The world feels limitless, like you could reach out and grab the stars. But then, life happens. Someone laughs at your drawing. The teacher tells you to focus. Your parents say, dreams don't pay the bills. And slowly, that spark, the one that made you feel invincible, starts to flicker. You learn to doubt. You learn to shrink. You learn that standing out comes with a price. Fast forward to now. You're an adult, sitting in a cubicle, scrolling through social media, or maybe just going through the motions of life. You're competent, capable, maybe even successful by some measures. But that voice from childhood? It's still there. It's quieter now, buried under years of practicality, but it hasn't gone away. It's the part of you that knows you're meant for more. The part that dreams of writing that book, starting that business, speaking your truth, or simply living a life that feels alive. So why don't you listen to it? Why do you push it down? Why does the thought of chasing your potential feel like stepping off a cliff? The answer is simple but brutal. Fear. Not fear of failure, though that's part of it, but fear of what it means to truly become yourself. To chase your potential is to confront the unknown. It's to face the chaos of your own soul, the doubts, the insecurities, the parts of you that you've spent years hiding from. It's to risk being seen, judged, or rejected. And most of us would rather stay safe than step into that fire. This isn't just a personal struggle, it's a universal one. And two thinkers, Friedrich Nietzsche and Gustav Jung saw it with a clarity that cuts through centuries. They didn't just describe the fear of potential, they explained why it's so hard to overcome and why it's worth fighting for. Let's start with Nietzsche, the philosopher who dared us to become who we are. Friedrich Nietzsche was not a man who played it safe. Born in 1844 in a small German town, he was a rebel with a pen, a philosopher who didn't just question society, he tore it apart. With his wild moustache and piercing eyes, Nietzsche looked like he was staring straight into the abyss. And in a way, he was. His philosophy wasn't about comfort. It was about courage. Courage to face the void, to reject the herd, and to embrace the chaos of your own potential. Nietzsche's most famous idea might sound like a motivational poster, but it's anything but. Become who you are. It's a line from the ancient Greek poet Pindar, which Nietzsche made the cornerstone of his masterpiece, Thus Spoke Zarathustra. On the surface, it sounds simple, almost cliché. Be yourself, follow your dreams. But Nietzsche wasn't selling self-help fluff. To him, becoming who you are is the hardest, most dangerous task you'll ever face. Why? Because it means confronting the parts of yourself you've been taught to fear. Nietzsche believed that most people live as part of what he called the herd. The herd is society's comfort zone, a collective of people who follow rules, chase approval, and avoid rocking the boat. It's the co-worker who never speaks up in meetings because it's safer to agree. It's the friend who buys the same car, watches the same shows, and thinks the same thoughts as everyone else. It's the part of you that says, don't stand out, don't take risks, don't be too much. But deep inside, Nietzsche argued, there's another part of you, a spark of individuality, a will to create, to rise, to become something greater. He called this the will to power, not power over others, but power over yourself, the drive to shape your life, to create meaning, to transcend the ordinary. This is your potential, the raw energy that could make you a poet, a leader, a visionary. But here's the catch. To unleash it, you have to break free from the herd, and the herd doesn't let go easily. Nietzsche saw the herd as a force that suffocates greatness. It's not that people are evil, they're just scared. Scared of standing out, scared of failing, scared of being alone. So they cling to tradition, to comfort, to the status quo. And when someone dares to step out, when you dare to chase your potential, they don't cheer you on. They pull you back. They call you arrogant, reckless, unrealistic. Who do you think you are, they ask. And slowly, you start to believe them. But Nietzsche wasn't just pointing fingers at society. He knew the real battle is internal. The herd isn't just out there, it's in your head. It's the voice that says, you're not good enough. You'll never make it. Why even try? That voice is fear, dressed up as reason. It's the part of you that's terrified of what you could become if you stopped playing small. Nietzsche called this fear ressentiment, a resentment not just of others, but of your own potential. It's the part of you that envies the person you could be, because becoming that person means facing the pain, the risk, and the loneliness of leaving the herd behind. Here's where Nietzsche gets brutal. He believed that to become who you are, you have to embrace the abyss. The abyss is the chaos of the unknown, the place where there are no guarantees, no safety nets, no applause. It's the moment you quit your job to start that business, write that novel, or speak your truth, knowing it might not work out. It's terrifying because it forces you to confront your own limits, your own doubts, your own mortality. But Nietzsche didn't see the abyss as something to avoid. He saw it as the birthplace of greatness. In Thus Spoke Zarathustra, Nietzsche tells the story of a tightrope walker balancing between two towers, one representing the ordinary life, the other the life of potential. The crowd watches, half in awe, half hoping he'll fall. And when he does fall, it's not because of the rope. It's because of the voices below, mocking him, distracting him, reminding him of the risk. Nietzsche's message is clear. The path to your potential is a tightrope. You will wobble, you will doubt, and the world will try to pull you down. But if you keep walking, if you embrace the fear, you might just reach the other side. Nietzsche's life wasn't exactly a fairy tale. He was a sickly man, plagued by migraines and poor health. His books were ignored during his lifetime, and he spent his final years in mental collapse, cared for by his sister. Yet, in his writing, you can feel the fire of a man who refused to let fear win. He didn't just talk about becoming who you are, he lived it, even when it cost him everything. And his challenge to us is simple. Will you face the abyss, or will you stay safe in the herd? But Nietzsche wasn't the only one who understood this fear. Another thinker, Gustav Jung, took it even deeper, diving into the shadows of the human psyche to uncover why we run from our own potential. If Nietzsche was a fire, Gustav Jung was a lantern, calm, introspective, illuminating the hidden corners of the soul. Born in 1875 in Switzerland, Jung was a psychiatrist, a mystic, and a philosopher all rolled into one. He didn't just study the mind, he explored its depths, mapping the unconscious like an adventurer charting an uncharted sea. And what he found was this: the fear of our potential isn't just about external pressures, it's about the war within our own psyche. Jung believed that every person carries a shadow, the parts of ourselves we hide, suppress, or deny. The shadow isn't just our flaws or our darker impulses, it's also our untapped potential, the creativity, the ambition, the courage we're too afraid to claim. Why do we hide it? Because embracing our potential means confronting the parts of ourselves we've been taught to reject. The part that wants to stand out in a world that demands conformity. The part that dreams of greatness in a culture that rewards mediocrity. The part that knows we could be more but is terrified of what it will cost. Jung's concept of the shadow is like a dusty attic in your mind, filled with treasures and monsters alike. There's the creativity you buried because someone called it impractical, the boldness you suppressed because it made people uncomfortable, the dreams you locked away because they felt too big, too unrealistic, too you. But here's the kicker. You can't become whole without facing that shadow. You can't reach your potential without embracing the parts of yourself you've been taught to fear. Jung called this process individuation, the journey to become your true self, not the version society wants you to be. But individuation isn't a straight line, it's a descent into the underworld of your own psyche, where you face your fears, your doubts, and your deepest desires. It's not about becoming perfect, it's about becoming real, and that's where most of us get stuck. Because facing the shadow means facing the chaos within, the uncertainty, the vulnerability, the possibility that we might fail, or worse, succeed and still feel empty. Let me tell you a story. A few years ago, I met a woman named Sarah at a coffee shop. She was in her late 30s, sharp as a tack, with a laugh that could light up a room. By all accounts, she was successful, a marketing executive with a corner office, a nice car, a picture-perfect life. But as we talked, her smile faded. "I hate my job," she admitted. "I've always wanted to be a painter. Ever since I was a kid, I'd spend hours with a sketchbook, creating worlds no one else could see. But my parents said art was a hobby, not a career. So I chose safety. And now, I feel like I'm living someone else's life." Sarah's story isn't unique. It's the story of countless people who feel the pull of their potential but are paralyzed by fear. Fear of failure, sure, but also fear of what success might mean. What if she became a painter and no one liked her work? What if she succeeded and still felt unfulfilled? What if chasing her dream meant losing the security she'd spent years building? These are the questions that haunt us, the shadows that keep us small. Jung would say that Sarah's fear wasn't just about painting, it was about confronting her shadow. The part of her that wanted to create, to take risks, to live authentically. That part was buried under years of shoulds and musts, the expectations of her parents, her peers, her society. To become a painter, she'd have to face not just the canvas, but herself, her doubts, her insecurities, her potential. Jung's own life was a testament to this struggle. In his 40s, he went through a period he called his confrontation with the unconscious. He had visions, dreams, and hallucinations that shook him to his core. He could have run from them, medicated them, or dismissed them as madness. Instead, he dove in. He wrote down his visions, painted them, analyzed them. He faced his shadow and came out the other side with insights that changed psychology forever. His Red Book, a record of this journey, is a raw, chaotic, beautiful testament to what it means to embrace the unknown. Jung's message is clear. Your potential lives in the shadow. To claim it, you have to face the parts of yourself you've been taught to hide. The fear, the doubt, the wild, untamed dreams. It's not easy, it's not comfortable, but it's the only way to become whole. If the fear of our potential is internal, it's also amplified by the world around us. Society doesn't just tolerate smallness, it rewards it. Think about it. From the moment we're born, we're taught to fit in, to follow rules, to color inside the lines. We're praised for obedience, for predictability, for playing the game. But when someone dares to step out, when they chase their potential with reckless abandon, they're met with resistance. Not because they're wrong, but because they're disruptive. Nietzsche saw this as the herd's revenge. The herd doesn't want you to rise because your rise exposes their stagnation. Your courage highlights their fear. Your potential threatens their comfort. So they push back. They call you unrealistic, impractical, selfish. They tell you to be realistic or stop dreaming. But what they're really saying is, don't make me face my own limits. Jung took this further, arguing that society's resistance is rooted in the collective unconscious, a shared pool of fears, myths, and archetypes that shape how we think. One of those archetypes is the hero, the person who dares to leave the village, face the dragon, and return transformed. We love heroes in stories, but in real life, we fear them. Because the hero doesn't just fight external monsters, they challenge the status quo. They show us what's possible, and that possibility makes us uncomfortable. Think about the people who've changed the world. Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated for daring to dream of equality. Steve Jobs was mocked for his insanely great ideas before Apple became a household name. Even someone like Taylor Swift, say what you will about pop music, was criticized early in her career for writing songs that were too personal or too emotional. These people didn't just face external resistance, they faced the collective fear of a society that's terrified of change. And it's not just the big names, it's the co-worker who gets sidelined for suggesting a bold new idea, the student who's labeled disruptive for asking too many questions, the friend who's called selfish for pursuing their passion instead of settling for a 9-to-5. Society doesn't just reject potential, it punishes it. Because potential is a mirror, and most people don't like what they see. This is where envy comes in. Nietzsche called it ressentiment, but Jung saw it as a projection of the shadow. When you chase your potential, you shine a light on the parts of others they've buried, their dreams, their courage, their unlived lives. And instead of facing those shadows, they lash out, they criticize, they gossip, they dismiss. Not because they hate you, but because they hate the reflection of their own fears. I remember a friend of mine, Mark, who decided to quit his corporate job to start a non-profit. He was passionate, driven, alive with purpose. But instead of support, he got eye rolls. "You're throwing away your career," his colleagues said. "You're being naive," his family warned. Even his best friend called him crazy for taking the risk. Mark pushed forward anyway, and today his non-profit helps thousands of people. But the resistance he faced wasn't about him. It was about the discomfort his courage created in others. This is the paradox. Society claims to admire potential, but only when it's safe, predictable, or packaged in a way that doesn't challenge the status quo. We love the idea of greatness, but we fear the reality. Because true potential isn't just about success, it's about disruption. It's about questioning the rules, breaking the mold, and refusing to settle. And that scares people, because if you can do it, what's stopping them? So, what happens when you let fear win? When you ignore the voice that calls you to greatness? When you stay in the herd, safe but unfulfilled? The answer is simple. You pay a price. Not in applause or recognition, but in the quiet erosion of your soul. Jung called this psychic death, the slow, invisible decay that happens when you suppress your true self. It's not dramatic. It's not a heart attack or a public breakdown. It's the late-night regret, the nagging sense that something's missing, the feeling that you're living someone else's life. It's the moment you look in the mirror and don't recognize the person staring back. Nietzsche was even harsher. He called it nihilism, the loss of meaning that comes when you abandon your will to power. When you stop striving, stop creating, stop becoming, you're not just standing still, you're dying inside. You become what Nietzsche called the last man, a person who seeks only comfort, safety, and distraction. The last man doesn't dream. They don't create. They don't suffer. They just exist, coasting through life until it's over. I saw this in my own life a few years ago. I was working a job I didn't love, surrounded by people who didn't get me. I was good at it, great even, but I was miserable. Every day felt like a performance, like I was wearing a mask to fit in. I'd come home, collapse on the couch, and scroll through social media, comparing myself to people who seemed to have it all figured out. But deep down, I knew I was running from something. I was running from me, from the part of me that wanted to write, to create, to take risks. I was terrified of failing, of being judged, of stepping into the unknown. So I stayed small, and it was killing me. The cost of staying small isn't just personal, it's universal. Every time you suppress your potential, you rob the world of something unique. That book you didn't write, it might have changed someone's life. That business you didn't start, it could have solved a problem no one else saw. That truth you didn't speak, it might have inspired someone to be brave. Your potential isn't just about you, it's about the ripple effect you could create if you dared to try. But here's the good news, it's not too late. The spark is still there, buried under layers of fear and doubt. And the philosophers we're exploring today, Nietzsche and Jung, didn't just diagnose the problem. They gave us a roadmap to break free. So how do you overcome the fear of your own potential? How do you step into the abyss, face the shadow, and become who you are? Nietzsche and Jung offer two sides of the same coin, courage and self-awareness. Nietzsche's advice is raw and uncompromising. Say yes to life. In his philosophy, life is not something to endure. It's something to embrace, chaos and all. To become who you are, you have to stop running from the unknown and start dancing with it. You have to say yes to the risks, the failures, the moments when you feel like you're falling apart. Because that's where transformation happens. Nietzsche's concept of the Übermensch, often translated as the overman or superhuman, is not about being a superhero. It's about being someone who creates their own meaning, their own values, their own path. The Übermensch doesn't wait for permission or approval. They don't follow the herd's script. They write their own story, even when it's messy, painful, or uncertain. Here's a practical way to start. Take one small step toward your potential today. It doesn't have to be grand. If you want to write one page. If you want to start a business, make one phone call. If you want to speak your truth, say it to one person. The point isn't to leap off the cliff. It's to take a step toward the edge. Each step builds courage. Each action chips away at fear. And slowly, you'll find that the abyss isn't something to fear. It's something to explore. Jung's approach is quieter but no less powerful. He believed that the key to unlocking your potential is to integrate your shadow, to make peace with the parts of yourself you've been taught to hide. This isn't about fighting your fears, it's about understanding them. It's about sitting with your doubts, your insecurities, your dreams, and asking, what are you trying to tell me? One of Jung's most powerful tools for this is active imagination, a process where you dialogue with the parts of yourself you've suppressed. Imagine sitting down with your fear, your ambition, your inner critic, and having a conversation. What would they say? What do they want? What are they protecting you from? This sounds woo-woo, I know, but it's grounded in a simple truth. You can't overcome what you don't understand. By facing your shadow, you take away its power to control you. Try this. The next time you feel paralyzed by fear, write it down. Don't censor yourself. Let the fear speak. Maybe it says, I'm scared of failing, or I'm scared of being judged. Then ask, why? Keep digging until you hit the root. Maybe it's a memory of being laughed at as a kid. Maybe it's a belief that you're not enough. Once you see it, you can name it. And once you name it, you can start to let it go. So, what does this all mean for you right now in the messiness of real life? Nietzsche and Jung aren't just philosophers. They're guides for navigating the fear that holds you back. Here are 3 practical lessons to help you embrace your potential, starting today. 1. Stop waiting for permission. The world will never hand you a gold-embossed invitation to be great. The herd will always pull you back. Your doubts will always whisper, not yet. But potential doesn't wait for the perfect moment. It waits for you to act. Start small, but start now. Write the first sentence. Take the first step. The moment you act, the fear begins to lose its grip. 2. Reframe rejection as evidence. When people push back against your dreams, when they call you unrealistic or too much, it's not because you're wrong. It's because you're challenging their comfort. Let their rejection be proof that you're on the right path. As Nietzsche said, that which does not kill us makes us stronger. Every no is a step toward your yes. 3. Find your sanctuary in solitude. Jung and Nietzsche both saw solitude as a crucible for transformation. You don't need a crowd to validate your worth. You need the silence to hear your own voice. Carve out time to be alone with your thoughts. Journal, meditate, walk in nature. Let solitude be the place where you meet yourself, not the place where you hide. And here's a bonus lesson, one I've learned the hard way. Your potential is not a destination, it's a direction. You don't arrive at greatness. You grow into it, one messy, imperfect step at a time. The goal isn't to be perfect, it's to be real. To show up as yourself, flaws and all, and keep moving toward the person you're meant to be. You're still here listening to this. That means something. It means you're not content with staying small. It means you feel the pull of something greater, even if it scares you. And that's the point. The fear of your potential isn't a sign that you're broken. It's a sign that you're alive, that you're awake, that you're ready to step into the abyss and see what's on the other side. Nietzsche and Jung didn't promise it would be easy. They didn't say the world would cheer you on or that the path would be clear. But they did say this: your potential is worth fighting for. It's worth the loneliness, the doubt, the rejection. Because when you embrace who you are, when you say yes to the chaos, face your shadow, and walk your own path, you don't just change your life, you change the world. So if you've ever felt that spark, that whisper, that call to be more, don't ignore it. Don't drown it out with noise or numb it with distraction. Listen to it, follow it, let it guide you, even when it's scary, even when it's hard. Because that spark, it's not just potential, it's you. This is Psyphos, a space for those who dare to dream, to question, to become. If this resonated with you, subscribe for more deep dives into the ideas that shape our minds and souls. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it, someone who's standing on the edge of their own potential, afraid to leap. And if you've ever felt the fear of your own greatness, tell me your story in the comments. I read every one. Let's build a community of dreamers, rebels, and truth seekers. People who refuse to stay small because they were born to be more. Until next time, keep walking the tightrope, keep facing the shadow, and keep becoming who you are.